Kindness as a leadership strategy, not soft, not nice, the thing that actually changes how people show up, how they lead, and how they build. My name is Delvina Morrow, founder of Glia and the Kindness Collective newsletter. Welcome to the 17 Project. I'm having conversations with leaders for Random Acts of Kindness Day. And Bryant, thank you so much for being part of this.
Thanks for inviting me. It's great to be here.
Of course, you describe yourself as a builder. And what strikes me is that everything you build seems to come back to the same thing, seeing people who aren't being seen and doing something about it. So I want to start there. You've built companies, films, initiatives. What's the through line? What drives you to keep building?
That's a great question. What drives me to keep building is I was given this opportunity, right? My mom passed away last year. Unfortunately, she was a builder, and amongst so many things that she did, she probably at the top of that list, and my children are really aware of it and grateful. She broke the cycle of poverty in my family, 250 years, right? And as a single mom, and that's not lost on me. That's a gift, and that gift is one that was bestowed on me, and I take it very seriously. And it's I was given. I was born in '65, so I was just given all of this opportunity. I am the beneficiary of my mom and King and X and Lewis and down the list, and they did all that work so that we would have opportunities, and I feel that.
When we talk about kindness, family is always one of the first things that comes up, right? And hearing about your mother being that, breaking those boundaries for your entire bloodline, like that's such a beautiful thing to have. Even as you think about your mother passing and the legacy that she has left behind.
Yeah, it's such an important piece of the puzzle, right? She gave us tools, and those are tools that I have done my best and will continue to do my best to give my own kids, so that they're equipped, right? Because you're going to fall down, you're going to get knocked down, and you're going to fall down. And as a dad, all and one of the reasons I love hockey so much is that it teaches you to get back up. And as a dad, there's only one gift. My mom gave it to me, and my dad did as well. There's only one gift that I want for my kids, and that's the ability to always get back up.
I love that. And as you talk about the gift that we give to our children, one of the gifts that I am trying to give to my daughter and kids all around the world is the gift of practicing kindness. And so, for you, as you're thinking about kindness, what does kindness and leadership mean to you? And not in theory, but in how you actually practice it.
Yeah, it is. From as you say, from a tactical standpoint, it really is two things. It's listening, really intently listening, and it's empathy, right? Putting yourself in somebody else's shoes when you don't necessarily have to, right? As a teammate. So, probably at the top of the list, I really, and I've not always done it, fallen down and not done it perfectly for sure, but I've really worked hard at taking to great lengths to be a great teammate, and that means taking a step back and going, okay, let's dial in on what's going on with you, whether it's work related, whether it's home related. Everyone has a friend of mine. My wife says it all the time too, but everyone has a certain number of rocks in their sack of life,
Hmm.
right? And you got to realize that, and people are carrying that around. And so it's worth exploring what's in there so that you can help them and you can understand them in a way that's deeper than just how are you or you want a coffee or whatever. Just sit and listen and listen with empathy, and it does wonders for teams.
Yeah, listening is a through line. And also, you said sitting down with someone, inviting them for a cup of coffee. As we're exploring kindness and teaching kindness, one of the things that we look at is a model where you read about kindness, you really understand it, you do an activity, and then you reflect and you shine on that and you really understand how did that make you feel doing that kind act. So I hear what you're saying. I came across your TEDx talk, which, know you're crazy, which you have to tell us a little bit about that. But it's about courage and authenticity as engines of change, excuse me. So how does that connect to leading with kindness? Does it take a kind of crazy to be kind in environments that don't always reward it?
Absolutely. I really think it does. I mean, part of, I talk the thesis of the talk, for those that have not seen it, which is most people probably, because it's pretty new. The thesis of it is to really internally understand what gets your heart pumping and kicks your brain into what's possible mode, right? That's at the heart of the talk. And I think that, you know, dialing in and listening to your own inner, your inner drive and your inner, go, if you will, that's part of it, is just being self-aware and saying what really gets me going, what's gonna help me help me reach that goal that is seemingly impossible, right? So it's self-awareness and self
Mhm.
to what's going to help you get excited to get out of bed, right? To get fired up, to be part of a team that's doing something extraordinary, right? Those are important. Those are important lessons, right? And I read something recently that said that only 15% of people absolutely love what they do. That's a really
Mm.
no number. So, my goal has always been to be part of that 15%, and to do everything that I can, and to put forth my best effort so that I can really get up in the morning excited about where I'm going, what I'm doing. That's purpose driven, and to pass those tools on to my kids and to my teammates.
Yeah, that's a really interesting, number that you're sharing. And as you think about the 85%, it's, how do you then go every day where maybe you're not, in your
Right,
dream lane right now, but then how
right.
do you go in every day and be kind? Maybe it's not an environment that's rewarding kindness, or that you don't feel, connected to that place, but there's still power in still going into those spaces and leading with empathy and listening and opening a door for someone, both literally and figuratively.
So much of it is about fit, right? And there's going to be opportunities that seemingly are a fit, and you just sometimes end up in situations where it's just not a fit for whatever reason, and that's okay. That's part of the process, right? So it's finding those situations that are a fit, and then once you're there with teammates that appreciate you, that really appreciate what you're bringing. Not everyone's going to be a great teammate. I'm on a quest to find great teammates, because great teammates, people who, we're in a, for instance, we're in a really polarized environment, in a really polarized time. It's difficult, right? But I really think the answers to that, and the solution, everyone's looking, oh no, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Here's a suggestion. Here's a solution. And these solutions are always found, they're always there in history. And it really, in both of our backgrounds, it's really rooted in sports. You look at any championship team going back forever or currently, and they all decide, right now, 26, 25 women on the U.S. Olympic, hockey team right now. They all said they all have differences, politically, age, religion, whatever they are. They decide going into that room, here's our common purpose, here's our common ground, and that's where our effort's going to be. So people who ascribe to that and relay that into the enterprise, into your church group, into not-for-profits, into any team that it's not
Mm.
just sports, but any team that you're part of, if you can find that common purpose, right, all taking into account all those differences, and find that common purpose and bring that to bear, that's at the heart of success. It really is. I really believe that. And it goes back to the history of it, right? Jackie Robinson is this person of lore in American sports history, because he was brave enough to try, first of all, but
Mhm.
then, he had teammates that were brave enough to try too. Pee Wee Reese putting his arm around him in Ebbets Field, and all of a sudden 20,000 Brooklyn Dodger fans didn't see, a black player; they saw a Brooklyn Dodger. Right? That is rooted in America. That's the best of us, and it's coming again. Mark my words.
Yeah, and that makes me think again about the work that I'm doing right now. And, I would hope that people would see that kindness is the common good that can bring us all together. And especially as we're thinking about empowering the next generation with the tools to be kindness heroes. And so that way it's not something that they have to think about later in life, but it's something that they truly have been practicing since day one.
Yeah, and kindness isn't just, I think about people that delivered that kindness at critical moments throughout my life. And I think back to my 10th grade English teacher, Evelyn Shoas, right? She said to me, she was very encouraging, built me up, and you got something, you really got to. And then when I didn't quite deliver it, and I didn't deliver it consistently, she said, "Our job, your job, and my job, is for you to use your gifts fully." That's what she
Mm.
used to say to me: use your gifts fully, all of them. Oh, and it just so hit me when I was 15, 16 years old. Do your best, basically, right? Use
Yeah.
your gifts. So she was saying, you have a gift, but it's not a gift unless you use it fully.
And
That
she saw you and she understood you and she was
shit.
able to push you in that way that was positive,
But
and
tough,
not calling you
man.
out in front of the class, I
Right,
assume, but pulling
right.
you aside and having those conversations.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was that to me, that raising of the bar was, it just meant so much, and even more so. It's been years since then, obviously, but it means even more to me now than it did then.
I'm sure. You've produced two films that honor pioneers whose stories weren't being told. What did that teach you about kindness and using your platform to elevate someone else's legacy?
Yeah, it's again, looking inward. The through line, to borrow your phrase, is in both of those films is the quest, the challenge, when you're faced with really, really hard obstacles, right? When you get knocked down, sometimes really unfairly, unjustly, right? Systems that are in place that a lot of people don't see, but these two men of color lived, right?
Mm,
When you get knocked down, the wherewithal and the kindness towards yourself to be better, not bitter.
mm.
So easy to be bitter, right? And be angry. And then I fight with it all the time. I struggle with it. And this just isn't fair. This isn't right. That guy was born on third base and I'm trying to get in the stadium, right? I mean, and people
Mhm.
like us are trying to get in the stadium still, right? And they don't realize they're born on third base, and it's maddening. And that can make you bitter, or it can make you better. It's a choice. And so erring on that side of better, not bitter, that's what I did. I didn't know it at the time, but intuitively, that's what I was really trying to say. And in insisting that these stories get told, I had
Mm.
to tell these stories. It was like visceral almost. I lived both of the stories in part. So I just had to, and then coming out of it, I fully realized that was the thread, right? Was to work consistently, use the gifts fully to be better, not bitter.
I think, that comment about better, not bitter, that is definitely very true in sport. Having worked in the front office of a hockey team and just always thinking about like, yeah, so you get knocked down, whether it's, actually on the ice or through a project or initiative, but always thinking about, well, how can I be better the next time? What does that look like?
That's
And
it.
for myself, I thought a lot about, my career and how do I not only continue to be better, but how do I help the next generation to understand and to avoid some of the pitfalls or
Mhm.
to continue to be better and to strive. And so, how do you think about mentoring the next generation and not through formal programs, which I think are wonderful, but in how you show up day to day?
I'm crazed about mentoring. I am. I've done it from day one. Because I had incredible mentors, and they taught me the value of it and the importance of it, especially when they didn't have to do it, right? They,
Mhm.
they weren't doing it for a resume line or for a box check of some sort. They just took an interest, like my teacher show us that I mentioned. So many coaches, so many others, so many business professionals in my career still who just took the time to say, hey, you should think about this a little bit differently, or what if you approached it this way, or if you approached it that way. And it's contagious. It's just contagious. At least I found it contagious. To I went to Trinity College, one of the places that I went to school, and it's part of the water there. It's part of the DNA. If someone from Trinity calls you and says, hey, listen, I went to Trinity in 2018, it doesn't matter, right? That's just part of a collective, that's really important, that you take that time, see how you can help, and net, you don't do it for quid pro quos. Net, I've received so much more than I've given to mentors.
Yeah, I love that. I was a recipient as a child of Big Brothers Big Sisters, and then I've gone on to mentor some young professionals, and I know it's not easy for them in today's day and age. So I love what you're saying, and it's so important to continue to pour in to this next generation. And even in our time working together, you've been a great mentor for me, so I just want to shout out and thank you for that.
Thank you.
So the last question I have, and I ask everyone this, is what's one small act of kindness you think could translate?
That's a great question, and I think I'll go back, and I'll go back to I'll go back to just really engaged listening, right? People when they sit down and they even open up just a tiny bit, how do we get them to open up more and learn more about their family, learn more about their circumstances, learn more about their mentors, learn more about their challenges and the things that they're afraid of, or are hard for them to face. Just understanding that is it goes so far for people to be heard in the workplace, right? And to be valued, right? Money's like fourth on the list. People want to be part of something that I call the ride, right? At the heart of sports is what I call the ride. The ride is when whether you're an under 8 soccer player, right, and your team goes away for the weekend, or you're the Pittsburgh Penguins and you're marching to the Stanley Cup. You win that first game, second game, third game. That you feel that in your belly, that lift, that ride, right? And you're on it. And it happens every year in sports, in every league. Someone gets to, every college, someone gets to experience the ride. And you're like, right? So pulling someone onto that train when it's leaving the station and you're going on that ride, it's worth so much more than money.
Oh, I
It's
love
worth
that.
so much more than anything. And if you look at your life or your career as a book, those chapters that are going up and to the right continually, that's wealth. That's wealth. It really is. Because if you are experiencing that with people that you really respect and love and want you there, you win.
Brian, thank you. This is exactly why I started this project. These conversations remind us that kindness isn't extra, it's the work. I really appreciate your time and for joining me as a part of the 17 project. And take care.
So happy to be invited. Thank you, as always.
So much.